If you stand at the edge of the port of Los Angeles, you will see rows and rows of containers. They are the standard unit of trade, moving everything from your iPhone to clothes you're wearing right now. But if you were to walk up to the steel doors of any one of the 25 million containers currently in circulation, you would find a small, unassuming metal identification plate. And if you read the fine print on that plate, you will notice a pattern. It doesn't matter if the container has Maersk or COSCO or Evergreen painted in massive letters on the side. That is just the operator. That's the airline. But the names on those tiny metal plates are the manufacturers, the Boeing and Airbus of the shipping world. Almost every plate lists one of just three names: CIMC, Dongfang, or CXIC. These three companies build over 80% of the world's shipping containers, and if you include the smaller players operating within the same borders, the numbers become staggering. China currently manufactures 96% of the world's dry cargo containers and 100% of all refrigerated ones. So it raises obvious questions. Why don't the United States, Germany, or Japan make them anymore? The answer isn't just about cheap labor or government subsidies, though those play an important part. The answer lies in a strange economic phenomenon that makes it nearly mathematically impossible for a factory anywhere else on Earth to build these boxes and survive. This is the story of how three companies cornered the market on the physical shape of globalization and why they deserve credit for keeping the world moving. Originally, containers were built where they were invented, the United States. Following Malcolm McLean's revolution in 1956 and the maiden voyage of the Ideal X, American factories churned out these steel boxes to support a budding industry. But the center of gravity for container production didn't stay put. It migrated with the flow of global manufacturing. In the 1960s, production moved to Japan. Then in the 1970s and 80s, it shifted to South Korea. And finally, by the 1990s, it landed firmly in China. It's easy to look at this timeline and assume this was just a standard story of corporations chasing cheap labor, but that isn't the whole picture. There is the raw material itself. A 40-foot container is essentially 4,000 kilograms of Corten steel, a specific weather-resistant alloy that rusts on the surface to protect the structure underneath. Steel represents roughly 60% of the total cost of a shipping container. And today, China produces more steel than the rest of the world combined. In 2024, China's crude steel production reached 1,005.1 million tons, nearly 10 times the output of the second largest producer, India, which is 149.4 million tons, and far exceeding the combined totals of the US, Japan, and Russia. This output represents over 53% of global steel production, with China's capacity and output continuing to dwarf that of all other nations. Now, to build this box in Europe or the US, you would likely have to import Chinese steel, pay tariffs on that steel, build the heavy box, and then ship it empty back to China to pick up goods, as it produces more stuff than the next 10 countries combined. It is a logistics loop that fails at every single step. The geography of steel dictates the geography of the container. So, who exactly are the architects of this monopoly? If you are in the market for a shipping container, you aren't exactly shopping around. You're effectively dealing with three companies. First, there is the Titan, CIMC, China International Maritime Containers. Founded in 1980 in Shenzhen as a joint venture with a Danish company, they have grown into a behemoth. In 2024, CIMC reported a record revenue year, bringing in over $24.4 billion. Their dry container sales skyrocketed by 417% that year alone, selling nearly 3.5 million units as global trade rebounded. If you see two containers side by side at a port, statistically, CIMC built one of them. They control roughly half the global market. Then there is DFIC, or Dongfang. They hold about 25 to 30% of the market. They are the quiet giant, often the preferred builder for the newly state-consolidated shipping lines. Finally, there is CXIC, the third player, holding on to the remaining 10 to 15%. But here's where we need to give credit where it's due. They are state-of-the-art facilities. CIMC has pioneered black light factories, production lines so automated that they can run in the dark. They use laser welding and AI-driven quality control. They have turned container manufacturing from a manual construction job into a high-precision automotive assembly line. Together, these three firms don't just dominate the industry, they are the industry. The Chinese government's involvement brings a specific benefit for them, which is stability. Private companies in the West might go bankrupt during a downturn. These Chinese giants, backed by state banks, can keep the lights on even when demand collapses, ensuring that when trade picks back up, the capacity is still there. During the pandemic, container prices in the world tripled. Some even accused the manufacturers of price fixing. You might think that Western companies would see this and try to manufacture it themselves. And the world's second largest shipping line, Maersk, actually tried to do it. For years, Maersk, the Danish giant, owned its own container manufacturing arm, called MCI. They built high-quality refrigerated containers. But in 2024, Maersk attempted to sell the entire division to CIMC. Well, regulators eventually blocked the sale on antitrust grounds, but the intent sent a chilling message to the market. The margins in this business are razor thin. It's a volume game that right now only these three big companies can afford to play. But perhaps the most surprising factor that cemented this monopoly wasn't military strategy or corporate capitulation, but an environmental regulation. In 2017, the Chinese government mandated a massive industry switch from traditional oil-based paints to water-based paints in an effort to reduce smog and VOC emissions in their nation. This was a win for the environment, but it was a death sentence for the smaller competitors in China. Switching to water-based paints requires massive capital upgrades. Factories need entirely new drying systems and humidity controls. The small private manufacturers in China simply couldn't afford the upfront investment and went bust. The big three, backed by easy access to state loans, upgraded their facilities and absorbed the market share left behind. In this case, these regulations didn't just clean the air, it cleared the field for them. But to think of CIMC as just a box company is to underestimate them completely. They are an infrastructure superpower. Next time you're at an airport, look at the tunnel you walk through to get on the plane. Whether you're in Paris, Hong Kong, or San Francisco, there's a very high chance that the passenger boarding bridge was made by CIMC Tianda, a subsidiary of the group. They are one of the world's largest suppliers of airport equipment. Look at the construction industry. CIMC has pioneered modular building systems. During the pandemic, when Hong Kong needed quarantine centers built in weeks, it was CIMC that delivered thousands of modular rooms, fully fitted out with electricity and plumbing, ready to stack. They own Ziegler, the German fire truck manufacturer. They are building offshore oil rigs. This diversification is their true strength. As global manufacturing begins to migrate in other nations like Vietnam and India, it seems logical that container production would follow. If you're making shoes in Hanoi, surely you should make the box to ship them in Hanoi too. Vietnam has a growing steel industry and a booming export sector, but they lack the one thing that matters the most, which is scale. A brand new state-of-the-art factory in Vietnam might be able to produce 100,000 20-foot equivalents per year. That sounds impressive until you look at the scoreboard. CIMC alone produces nearly 2 million in a year. The story of CIMC, Dongfang, and CXIC is a masterclass in modern industrial dominance. It wasn't achieved by a single hostile takeover, but through a 40-year game of patience. If you want to know more about how the United States lost 97% of its shipping industry, click on the left video. And if you want to know about the company that controls almost all of the shipping port cranes across the world, watch the right video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.